How's it going, guys? My name's Scott Patterson, and I'm gonna delete it. No, maybe I'll leave it in. I'm a 25 to 34 C-class rider. This is just gonna be footage of my experience at the 2026 Round 5 D-14 Hare Scramble. So in the beginning, I planned on just kind of taking it slow. I got off the line really late. As you can see, this is a pretty big class. I believe we had 25 people. I went on to get 6th this race out of 25. And the D-14 is running a split series, which means that all the C-class guys, they race in the morning, along with women's classes, and I believe I got 21st out of 117 for this race. I did start off a little bit slow just because it is a hot day. This is my first time on this property. The beginning of this race turned out pretty good. I was able to cut through the pack pretty quick here. Those guys go really wide. So a little 2-for-1 there. The track was beautiful though. In my opinion, this is going to be track of the year. It was fast and flowy. A couple of really good hill climbs. There was a motocross track as well, but again, this is my first time on the property, so the first lap, which you'll see in this footage, I ended up like falling out of the sky off a double, and it scared me from jumping absolutely anything else the rest of the day. My background isn't through motocross at all. I believe I only went through a couple motocross open events growing up. Definitely just kind of stayed in the woods. This is the enduro cross section. As you can see, cut that guy off a little bit. Sorry, man. Whole lot of race. The people taking the inside through this section, as you can see, is a little bit faster for sure. Again, it's just so hot. I didn't feel like getting stuck anywhere. So unfortunately, I paced this race really poorly. Usually I'm finishing around like 4th in the class. Best result this year has been a 2nd place. This guy was in the class ahead of me, so he should have let me through. You see him sitting on the line, but I'm not too worried. You hear me screaming, different class, try to let him know. It might be his first race. He's wearing some work boots, and it'll probably be a long day for him. Even though I do rev at people, I do it just to kind of conserve energy, not in like a mean way. I'm not really rev bombing people unless they're truly making it difficult for me to get around them. Again, I'm row 4, so this guy is row 1. Again, more about the track. So there's a couple sections that were really fun. The uphill, you'll see that coming up too. I ended up cleaning it super good the first lap. I got really lucky because I knew it was coming, but I wasn't sure the line, and I took it really close on the inside. I'll talk more once we get to that point. So in the beginning, I'm just kind of flowing, trying to get my heart rate up. I need to start running or jogging or biking or doing something in the morning because just doing some bike work, last minute registration, unloading the bike, it really doesn't do much for me to kind of get up and get ready to exert so much force. I don't know why I'm looking back, there's no reason to. Again, I think at this point I'm probably around 7th off the start. Enduro cross section slowed me down quite a bit. I'm usually a little bit faster than that through those sections, kind of doubling some of the logs, but first time on the property, I didn't want to end my race early. know somebody who actually cracked an engine case on the broken cement in the beginning. And this guy has a nice little line through there. I wish I remembered that later in the race. So right now I'm just catching up to some lap traffic again. Or not lap traffic, but catching up to some slower riders. Looking for way past them. There's definitely a few really good sections to pass through here. Again, this is more of like a GNCC style, which is different from Michigan. Usually it's a lot more technical. But it's nice when these races have a nice open starting section because it allows the pecking order to kind of fall into place a little bit sooner than getting stuck in traffic and the leaders just taking off. That was a nice line underneath that tree. I was able, again, to get 2 passes in one section. So this is usually a lot more of what we see, really tight single track through here. The tight single track is fun when it's not too tight. There's a couple sections here where you have to really slow down. Finally starting to get into a little bit of a flow state, have some open air ahead of me and be able to pick up the pace. Thought I could make a pass over that, but ended up getting bucked pretty good. Some nice off-camber lines through here too. This lap we're stuck in a little bit of a slower train. But not too big of a deal. We end up getting around all these guys anyway. Again, I'm just kind of revving a little bit, letting them know I'm behind them. There's red 2, same with this kid. Down his foot. He lets me on by him, right? I slid into that guy. Holy crap, that was close to this line. Oh, that would have been beautiful. But he's able to shut the door on me. He's in my row, so I think that's fair. 100%. So 25 to 34C, we start row 4. Which I'm not really a big fan of. If you look at the results to every race, row 1 is definitely the fastest. There's a lot of really young talent that are really good. So usually top like 5 or I won't say top 10, but near it. They're usually finishing up towards the front, so row 1's fine. But our row 4 ends up catching up and passing rows 3 and 2 quite a bit. So usually row 4 kind of on average comes around second. So I wish we'd slide up. So again, this is the start of the moto track. I'm getting just a little bit of air, but not enough to really hurt myself. This is kind of, like I said, my first time on property, so I see some flaggers, so I'm not really sure what to expect jumps wise, but you'll see coming up that I almost made a mistake. So I'm trying to gauge what's going on based on where the other people are landing and how high they kind of dip behind the face of the jump. So right there, it's not too big, but I kind of scared myself. And so after that, I was like, oh, I'm not sure exactly which jump that was. And then it kind of prepped me. Now these This track in general, the motocross track, it's not gnarly at all. I mean, anybody with a little bit of skill could clear everything on their second lap all day long, but for it to be an endurance race, I believe my final time was an hour and 33 or 34 minutes. I felt like the motocross track won't lose me too much time. As slow as I am riding, obviously it did make the difference probably in the end of the day. I believe I was only 4 minutes behind my class leader, and a good 2 minutes of that was me messing with my water pack. I see that guy kind of hanging out a little bit, so that kind of woke me up. Again, this race footage kind of isn't, or it just isn't as fun to watch as my racing usually is. Like I said, I'm usually a top 3, top 4 guy in the class, and today I just was not ready to race. Now towards the end of the race I did turn it up quite a bit, but it was too little too late, unfortunately. Just because the heat was kind of a factor, I didn't really want to have to go to work the next day and feel like crap knowing I had overtime scheduled all week. So, but beautiful course. this is a super funny part of the track. I had no clue what was going on. About halfway through this corner, I realized that we're just going right around and around. You see me looking around, like, wait a minute, I've seen you guys before. I throw my left hand up at people watching us because we're just doing small circles. And it flips back around the other way. It was pretty fun. It was a nice little break. My corner speed's terrible. I wish I caught some more people through this section. You just kind of watch everybody on the edge of what they're comfortable riding traction-wise. Out of everywhere to go down on the course, so this is where I would have wanted to go down. I would have. Like to go back into the woods now. This guy's row 2. So again, I've kind of already caught him, so I should be a faster rider. He gets kind of caught up when I go for the pass, so if that was on me, sorry man. As you can see, those trees, a lot of people were hitting those. The faster riders, they can kind of weave in between them all, but with how wide my bars are, I really need to cut them down to be able to fit through those without having to be too skilled of a rider. This section is pretty fun, nice and straight through here. Towards the end of the race, I got a little bit faster for sure going through there. First time rocking this kit, picked it up, screaming deal. All the guys out there that are listening, they know when you see something on Facebook Marketplace, you just can't let it go. That was one of these purchases for sure. Thanks to a couple of the A guys for helping me dial in my suspension. They kind of unlocked the secret for fork pressure and the sag that they're running, and it completely transformed my bike. And pretty specific questions, and they dialed me in. GoPro doesn't do that section justice, but I felt like I was about to fly off the cliff every single time. Coming up to the first pretty decent sized downhill. The first lap they didn't really have anybody standing out here, but later in the race they had like 3 or 4 people out there come down the hill over a little bridge crossing, and that's a lot steeper than it was. Trail goes left. I saw a guy down here messing about, so I decided to go down. I think I'm messing with my water right now, lap 1, technically lap 2. Bypass scoring in the beginning. A little bit of a mud hole. I seem to be stuck. Again, more downhill. That one wasn't too bad. We were just all kind of going slow because we weren't really sure where to go. Nobody got lost, I don't think, but it was open enough to where it made you kind of have to look around and question a little bit. This was a fun little section, kind of go up the hill, back down. Trying to let this guy know that I'll be coming soon. right now we're kind of following the river. This is a nice section every lap just because it cooled you down. The temperature is a good 5 or 10 degrees colder by the water. Being in the shade compared to up on the ridge, just with the sun beating down on you. Super muddy part, sent me back to Nam a couple rounds ago. We had a really bad mud race. For anybody that was there, I hope you guys survived well. That race cost me about $300 in repairs total. Little bridge crossing. Yeah, that race sucked. If I see that it's raining a couple days before the race and then the morning of, I'm just not even going to load the bike up. I'll ask people how it was when I see them next round. So right now, season-wise, I believe I'm 4th in the Hare Scramble series. I'm also running the Sprint Enduro series. For the Sprint Enduro series, I am 2nd right now in Open C, so that's a pretty big class. A lot of the dogs that kind of show up in this D1 race, they run Open C, so no overalls yet, but 2nd place. Myself again while I'm riding. Here's going to be the first big hill climb. So he honked at me. I felt so bad, but I was just fired right up. I didn't get stuck on the hill. Yeah, anyway, I come flying up the hill. I rev bomb because I'm a C-class absolute animal doing a pretty decent sized hill for me, so I was fired up. So I rev bomb, I let out the clutch, it builds up a ton of speed. I look up, I'm T-boning a guy. He gave me a cool little moped horn, yeah, so I definitely apologize to that guy and any of the crowd there, but you gotta have some fun, you know. No harm, no foul. So this, I believe, is like the start of the 2nd full lap. So usually I go through the enduro cross section at every event. Since this was my first time on property, I decided to try the bypass just to see if it is shorter, because sometimes it's a wash, and even if it's not a wash, but it's like 1 or 2, or not 1 or 2, maybe like 10 or 20 seconds different at most, like, and I can save a ton of energy, especially this early in the race, that I'm gonna try the bypass just to give it a whirl. Unfortunately though, this is one of the properties where the bypass is way longer than the enduro cross section, so I wish I would have known that ahead of time, but you don't know what you don't know. So as we come back onto the track here, I've definitely lost some positions, ton of time. So not only was I a horn dog to the one dude coming up the hill, I'm gonna have to catch him and pass him if I want to pass him again. Going through scoring, I know this kid's in my class. I look, he's 5th. I'm staring at the score. It never registered me. I knew it didn't register just because it didn't update. So at this point I'm thinking to myself, oh no, I'm going to have to talk to him at the end of the race. What really happened, I was too far to the left of the transponder and my helmet was cranked over to the left because I'm staring at the TV. That's what I get for being Gen Z. I see a TV, my eyes are glued to it, there's nothing I can do about it. So it's happened a couple times this year. Again, at this point, it's on me. the rest of the race, I go through sitting perfectly upright, helmet dang near touching the scanner, because it will not pick you up if you're not riding properly through there. So that is 100% my fault, and I've kind of fixed it for other events, the future events as well. So this was last weekend. Right now it's Friday the following week. Coming up, we have round 4, I believe, of the Sprint Enduro series at Whiskey Creek, kind of near Ludington, Michigan. It's in Custer, I believe. That property was really good when we first started going there. Now it's pretty moved out. They kind of have trails going everywhere. Like lap 1 through surely lap 4, but maybe halfway through lap 3, I'm kind of riding like it's not a race, it's more of a trail ride. With it being so hot, I just didn't want to risk it. And also just mentally, I think physically too, I had a little bit of sickness going on, so I wasn't trying to go out there and shatter any records. But we'll get them next time. If you want to see more of certain parts of the race, if you want me to talk less, talk more, if I get my audio dialed, then let me know down in the comments what you guys want. I'm just kind of rebooting this channel up, so if you want to see more of the races, go ahead and subscribe. I do both the Hare Scramble and the Sprint Enduros all over the state of Michigan in the D-14 circuit. Now, if you guys also don't know, I've already registered for the Jack Pine put on by Lansing Motorcycle Club. This year it's going to be the 100th year of the Jack Pine, so it's going to be gnarly. I believe there's around 40 AA guys coming in from all over the place, currently registered right now. So the fast people are going to be going fast, and everybody wants that 100th anniversary trophy. So if you guys are in the area, or even if you're not, definitely show up for the Jack Pine event. That's going to be taking place, I believe, August 14th or 16th, somewhere around there. That's going to be such a fun event. Like I said, thank you guys again for watching. Sorry, this footage is kind of lackluster, but we were still able to make some pass. Had some funny moments with me going down over a tree root pretty good, falling out of the air, and scaring myself. Yeah, I have plenty more footage saved up. This was kind of the first round where I decided to re-watch it through and talk about it. Gave myself some time to recover after a long work week. Definitely some weeks racing back to back before I kind of stopped and talked about everything. Again, thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of the footage. We'll see you later.